Hello everybody, this is Emily with Fabrications Ottawa, and today we're going to learn about the tubular bind-off. So the tubular bind-off is a lovely bind-off in that it gives your fabric an invisible edge. The ribbing in this vest looks like it goes on forever or wraps around the edge of the work. I like to think of it as like the infinity pool of bind-offs. And so today we're going to walk through how to do it. So the first thing is you're going to need, obviously you're going to need a project to bind off with. You're going to need a darning needle because this is almost like a sewn bind off. And you're going to need a pair of scissors to cut your yarn. And so the first thing I need to do is I need to break or cut my yarn. But because this is a sewn bind off, I need to make sure I have lots of tail left in order to make it through the whole bind off. So what you want to do is I'm going to spread out my work on the needle so I get an accurate read of width. And then I am going to measure out 4 times the width of my work. 3, 4, and I'm going to give myself just a little bit extra. Okay. And now I have a tail with which to bind off. I will note that for small things like cuffs, armholes, neck holes, it's not such a big deal to have all that yarn while you're stitching throughout the piece. For a wider piece, so if you're doing a shawl or if you're doing the bind off edge of the body of a sweater, it can be a lot. You can be, depending on the size you're knitting, you might be pulling through 10, 12 meters of yarn through every stitch. You're not going to catch me doing it. You could if you want to. I'll be honest, if you're anything like me, you'll give up. So what I do for bigger projects is I will cut a smaller amount of yarn. I'll bind off until I have about 6 inches left. I'll cut myself another length of yarn and just start again. And then at the end, I'll have little ends to weave in, but that's not a big problem. Just make sure that when you're weaving them back in, they kind of mimic the look that the rest of the stitches have from the bind off. So like I said, this bind off is a little bit like a sewn bind off, or it also reminds me a little bit of like grafting 2 stitches together or 2 rows together, like Kitchener stitch. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pop your yarn onto your needle. Okay, and so we have a number of steps. I want you to watch it through with me as I go through it before you try it out on your own. Okay, just so that you have you've been introduced to the concept. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop our needle in as if to knit the first stitch, and we're going to let that stitch come off the needle. Then I'm going to take my needle and go into not this one but the second stitch as if to purl and leave it on the needle, obviously. Then I'm going to go into the first stitch on my needle as if to purl and also let it come off. Ooh. Okay. This is the weird part. Needle comes from behind between these 2 stitches here, from behind to the front. And then I'm going to go knitwise into the second stitch on my needle. Okay, and that is a full repeat. So let's try it again. We are going to go in as if to knit and slip off. Purl the second stitch. Then we're going to go in as if to purl the first stitch and then off. Swoop from behind between those 2 stitches. And then in as if to knit on the second stitch. Okay, we can start to see our pattern forming. I'm going to demo it again. So in as if to knit stitch 1, off. Let's get this out of the way. Here we are. In as if to purl stitch 2. Then we're going to in as if to purl stitch 1 and off. Come back around between the 2 stitches. In as if to knit on the 2nd stitch. And there we go. So when I'm doing Kitchener stitch, my mantra that I repeat in the head is knit, slip, off, purl, purl, slip, off, knit. And it's very similar here. We're going to knit, slip, off, purl 2nd, purl, slip, off. There's a little scoopy in here. And then knit 2nd. So knit, slip, off, purl 2nd, purl, slip, off, scoop forward, knit 2nd. All right, that's it. That's the tubular bind off. It is intimidating, and the very first time I did it, I watched the video 3 times before it started to click, but once it starts to click, it becomes repetitive, relaxing way to bind off your stitches. Just make sure that you give yourself lots of time. Make sure that if you have to put your work down in the middle of a stitch, you finish that repeat so that you know that you are about to start it over again. Don't stop in the middle. Don't stop after, you've done your purl slip, because you're not going to remember when you pick it back up again. If you get confused, you can unpick this. It's frustrating, but you can do it. You can unpick and then restart from the beginning of the row. It's okay. I believe in you. That's it. Thank you so much for joining, and happy knitting.